Welcome back, America, to Sound Retirement Radio, where we bring you concepts, ideas, and strategies designed to help you achieve clarity, confidence, and freedom as you prepare for and transition through retirement. And now, here is your host, Jason Parker.
America, welcome back to another round of Sound Retirement Radio. So glad to have you tune in into this episode number 419. The title is Favorite Things for 2023, and I'm releasing this on Black Friday to give you some ideas on maybe some things you want to purchase for those people you care about. Before we get started, though, let's get the day started right by renewing our mind. And I've got a verse here from 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 7. But since you excel in everything, in faith, in speech, in knowledge, in complete earnestness, and in the love we have kindled in you, see that you also excel in this grace of giving. And then a fun joke for the grandkids. What did the pig say when he was in the hot sun? I'm bacon. Okay, in today's podcast, I'm going to share some of my favorite things in 2023, and you'll notice that I'm releasing this episode on Black Friday. It's time to get your wallet out and start shopping, and I have to tell you, this time of year gives me a little bit of anxiety because I'm not very good at buying gifts. I'm not really good at knowing what people like or what they want. And I remember Oprah used to have a show, and she would do her favorite things show, and everybody in the audience would receive gifts. Well, no such luck in today's podcast. You guys aren't getting anything other than some ideas and some things that I've enjoyed here for 2023. So without any further ado, these are a few of my favorite things. Sorry, Julie Andrews. I don't mean to botch your song, but my favorite things are not raindrops on roses or whiskers on kittens. Here we go. The first one is experiences. You know, I feel like we have so much stuff, and I'm going to share with you some of the stuff I've acquired over the last year, but experiences, I really love experiences and travel. So this first one, my family, we got to do a couple of really cool things this year, but this one really stood out as one of my favorites. My son graduated from high school this year, and so I wanted to do something special to honor him graduating. And so me and my son and his really good friend and his dad, we all went river rafting down the Grand Canyon. This was an amazing experience. It was a 3-day motor expedition, meaning that you're not paddling down the Grand Canyon. And like many of the cool things I'm going to share with you today, this was actually something that one of my clients had done. She told me about it. I thought it sounded great, so we booked it. The company that we booked the trip through was a company called CRATE, Colorado River and Trail Expeditions. It was a 3-day trip through the Grand Canyon, and it starts by, we flew from Washington into Las Vegas, Nevada. We spent the night in Las Vegas, and there was a charter flight that flew us to what's called the Bar 10 Ranch. And the Bar 10 Ranch was this really cool experience. You land on this dirt runway out in the middle of nowhere. You sleep in these covered wagons. They have all this entertainment. You go horseback riding. You shoot shotguns. You ride ATVs. They provide and produce. They provide meals for you. They do this fun entertainment the night that we were there. I mean, it was just a really cool experience out in the desert. The next morning, you wake up and you get on a helicopter, and they fly you down to the river where you get on your river rafts. And this is not an event where you're paddling down the river. These are motorized river rafts. There's 24 people total, so 2 different boats, 12 people on each boat. And you're just sitting back and enjoying the warm weather and the rapids, and the Grand Canyon is just amazing to see it from a rafting experience like this. You get to spend a night sleeping on a cot next to the river. All of the meals are prepared for you. And then after the river rafting experience, we flew back to Las Vegas. We stayed in a hotel. We went out to dinner and saw America's Got Talent, which was just a laugh out loud, fun show in Las Vegas. And then we flew home. So all of that in a total of 5 days, 3 days for the river rafting, and then a day flying into Vegas and a day on the way home where we stopped in Vegas. But just a really, really cool experience. If you've never been to the Grand Canyon, you definitely, it's worth it to go, and it's really cool to see it from this river rafting experience. Okay, the next thing I'm going to share with you is really kind of stupid, but my wife and my daughter picked out this new toaster for our house, and it's kind of a high-tech toaster. It's like got a touch screen, and you can choose the specific type of bread you want to toast, and you can tell it how crispy you want it, and if it's frozen or if it's fresh. I mean, this toaster is just absolutely amazing. The bread goes down slowly. It comes up slowly. It gives you an indicator, a sign. It flashes on the screen when it's time to change the crumb tray out of the bottom. I mean, it is, I didn't think I would like a toaster so much. When I saw that they bought this touchscreen toaster, I thought it was overkill, but I have to tell you, it's been one of my favorite things for 2023. It's called the Revolution Instaglow R180 toaster. And I'll put links to these in the show notes if you're interested. Many of you have heard me talk about the things that really brought me joy this year, and two of them have been riding my electric bike and playing pickleball. I've just really enjoyed those two activities. The electric bike that I purchased is called the Juiced Rip Current S. It's an e-bike. It has a 1,000-watt motor. It will go 70 miles on a charge. It will go up to 30 miles per hour. It has pedal assist. It has a thumb throttle, 4-inch fat tires. It has a rack and fenders and disc brakes and a headlight. It's just been a lot of fun. It's so much fun, in fact, that I bought a second one so that my daughter and I could go out riding together. And I've been trying to get my wife to get on the second one, but she's a little bit, she doesn't like the idea of being on an electric bike. Not yet, but I'm still working on her. The next thing is pickleball. I mean, I've played a lot of pickleball this summer, and I bought a paddle. You know, when you first start playing the sport, you just kind of go down, you buy the cheapest thing you can find. Nobody really cares. But of course, like anything, you can spend a lot of money on pickleball gear. And so I bought a Selkirk paddle. It's called the Vanguard Power Air Invicta. It's red and white. And I really enjoy playing pickleball with this paddle. Now, I will warn you, for my pickleball friends out there, it took me a while to get used to this thing. When I first bought it, I wasn't prepared for how much pop the ball would have off of this. So I kept hitting the ball out of bounds and kept hitting it too far. But it took me about 2 or 3 weeks. Once I really dialed it in, I was like, man, this thing is awesome. It's really got a lot of control, a lot of power, and you can put spin on it. Great pickleball. It's called the Selkirk Vanguard Power Air Invicta. I'll put a link in the show notes. And of course, the Franklin X40 are my favorite pickleballs. I also found this website this year called playtimescheduler.com. Now, this is a free website. They have you can pay for a subscription if you want. I think most people just use the free version. But playtimescheduler.com is a way to find people to play pickleball with, whether it's in your local community or when I travel, I will use Playtime Scheduler to find people to play pickleball with. So it's pretty cool free website. And then, of course, you have to buy shoes. You know, what good are you at pickleball if you don't have dedicated pickleball shoes? So my favorite shoes this year were the Skechers Viper Court Pro. They're orange. Skechers designs a shoe that is specifically for pickleball. And so I had started getting some plantar fasciitis earlier in the year, and having good shoes makes a big difference. So the other shoe that I enjoy for jogging is the Brooks Ghost. Those are my favorite jogging shoes if you are looking for a good pair of running shoes. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about are some of my favorite podcasts from 2023. And I broke these down into 2 categories. I have my podcasts about Christianity that I enjoy listening to. And then I also have some podcasts that are geared more towards science and technology and health and longevity. And so I wanted to give you some really great podcasts to listen to if you're looking for something interesting and fascinating, fun and educational and uplifting and, something to fill your spirit. So we'll start with my favorite Christian podcasts. Greg Laurie, the Greg Laurie podcast. He's a teacher. He's a preacher. He's fun. He had that movie that came out this last year called The Jesus Revolution. And I had never heard of Greg Laurie until that movie, but I've really been enjoying his podcast. The next podcast I really enjoy, I've enjoyed this one for a long time, but I wanted to mention it this year because Timothy Keller died in May, I believe, of 2023. But his teaching is timeless. And so he has a podcast called The Gospel and Life by Timothy Keller. Just really, really great teachings for those of you that are interested in learning more about our faith. There is the Focus on the Family broadcast. A friend of mine told me about this podcast this year, and I really enjoy listening to Jim Daly just talk about how Christian families can navigate some of the unique challenges that we face as Christian families. And then Steve Gregg is a guy who has a radio show called the Narrow Path radio program. It's also a podcast. And I heard him speak down in Gig Harbor. It's a call-in show. It's a Q&A show. People from around the country call in with questions about Christianity. Really good show. It's fun to hear people talk through and work their way through some of the different things that are important to them. Now, on the other side of the fence, when it comes to science and technology and longevity and health, these are some of my favorites. So the first one is one by Peter Diamandis called Moonshots. And Peter Diamandis graduated from MIT. He attended Harvard Medical School. He is the one responsible for the X Prize. He has all these cool topics and these business leaders and company founders that he brings on to talk about things like AI and longevity, and just really a fun way to look at what's being developed now and what the future is going to look like. The next podcast I've really been enjoying is by Lex Friedman. It's called the Lex Friedman Podcast. Lex Friedman is a research scientist at MIT. He has guests on like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Walter Isaacson, Mark Andreessen, Stephen Wolfram, Ray Kurzweil. Just these fascinating thinkers and people that are really moving the needle in society. And so I'm enjoying those podcasts. And then I'm also really enjoying the Brian Keating podcast called Into the Impossible. Brian Keating is a professor of physics at UC San Diego, and he brings all these Nobel Prize winning scientists where they discuss all types of things related to science. And one of the things I like about Brian is that he's not afraid to talk about faith and religion, God and science. Those two ideas, those two concepts don't have to be, there doesn't have to be a division there. There doesn't have to be a us versus them. And so I just like hearing people in the science community also talk about, occasionally they'll talk about their faith, which I think is neat. I think we need more of that in our world today. And then the last podcast, just more of a business podcast. It's called It's a Good Life with Brian Buffini. He's more of a real estate guy and he's a business coach. Even though my business isn't real estate, I do enjoy listening to his coaching and the advice that he gives to people that are in the real estate industry. Okay, the next thing I wanted to share with you were some of my favorite books from 2023. 2 books from Ryan Holiday. The first one was Discipline is Destiny, and the second one was Courage is Calling. Just really fun reads, easy reads. The next one was Randy Alcorn. He wrote a book called Heaven. And this book was actually inspired by one of my clients who passed away, and he left a note to his family. And he had mentioned that this book had significantly impacted his view on heaven and his life as a Christian. And he was somebody that I had a lot of respect for. And so when I saw that letter that he wrote, I just was fascinated and wanted to read it, and I'm glad that I did. It really shaped my thoughts, and it's a good read. And then the second book, and this is actually the book that I gifted the most this year, another book by Randy Alcorn called The Treasure Principle. It's an amazing story, and I don't want to ruin it for you to hear what is possible when you walk in faith and when you give obediently. But it's really an inspiring book. It's called The Treasure Principle. I heard Mo Gaudat wrote a book called Solve for Happy. He was a Google engineer, and he takes an engineer's approach to figuring out what is necessary to live a life where you're happy. And he wrote this book after his son passed away. Again, interesting story. And I enjoyed the book. I told a lot of people about it. And then the last 2 books were more business related. One was called Quit by Annie Duke. And, this idea of starting things is a lot of fun. But then the question of, is there a time when you should quit certain things? And so that was a good book. And then to kind of balance that one, I also read Grit by Angela Duckworth. And Grit is about never quitting. It's like you just give it everything you got for all time and you never throw in the towel. So I wanted to read both of those books, and they were both good. Okay, my favorite apps for this past year, of course, my podcast app. That was one that I use a lot. I like Audible. I like listening to audiobooks. There's a hiking app called Gaia GPS, Gaia. And one of my hobbies is hiking. And this is just a cool way to leave breadcrumbs. I have not paid for this app. I just use the free version. But I really enjoy it for when I'm out in the woods and just want to kind of keep track of where I'm at and where I'm going and how far I've gone. And elevation gained and speed and pace and all these things. So it's a cool app with good maps. One of the things, my wife bought me an ukulele, and so I found this app called Musician. And Musician is an app that has kind of gamified learning to play an instrument. And so they teach you how to play the ukulele. And so I've been enjoying the app called Musician. I do pay for that one. And then the last app that I've really enjoyed this year is called Selkirk TV app. Again, I've really gotten into pickleball. And so when you get into pickleball, you don't just like playing it, but you like watching it. And so the Selkirk TV app allows you to watch pickleball nonstop. It's an easy way to clear the room at my house. Okay, my last favorite thing of 2023 is we got a new dog. For years, my family, we've had Boston Terriers. Our last Poochie passed away a couple of years ago, and my daughter and my wife really wanted to get a new dog. And this time we decided not to get a Boston Terrier. Instead, we got a Bernedoodle. They are part Bernese Mountain Dog and part Poodle, and he is just so much fun. It's so much fun having a puppy in the house. Running all around the place and just the kindest, sweetest dog you could imagine. He's just really a wonderful dog, really a wonderful breed that I didn't know anything about, but we've really been enjoying having him at our house. So those are a few of my favorite things for 2023. Again, I'll try to include show notes links to all of these things in case this inspired you to want to get anything for a family or friends. I hope you enjoy your Black Friday. Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. And we're coming up to the end of the year where we get to start doing year-end planning, thinking about our goals and designing the year ahead. And I'm looking forward to being on this journey with you.
Information and opinions expressed here are believed to be accurate and complete, for general information only, and should not be construed as specific tax, legal, or financial advice for any individual, and does not constitute a solicitation for any securities or insurance products. Please consult with your financial professional before taking action on anything discussed in this program. Parker Financial, its representatives, or its affiliates have no liability for investment decisions or other actions taken or made by you based on the information provided in this program. All insurance-related discussions are subject to the claims-paying ability of the company. Investing involves risk. Jason Parker is the president of Parker Financial, an independent fee-based wealth management firm located at 9057 Washington Avenue Northwest, Silverdale, Washington. For additional information, call 1-800-514-5046 or visit us online at soundretirementplanning.com.